Greetings all, I'm excited to have you join me here today. It's April 25, 2023, and I'm pleased to offer a brief overview of the day's most significant news. I've collected the essential news summaries from 4 different news outlets to share with you. Firstly, I will start with the news from the New York Times. The host's abrupt dismissal upends Fox News's primetime lineup, and the carefully honed impression that the rating star was all but untouchable. The power that Tucker Carlson wielded could not insulate him from a growing list of troubles at the network related to his conduct on and off the air. President Biden's mission will be to defend his record while warning about the dangers of Donald Trump's return. Despite his aggressive moves to try to slash greenhouse gases, President Biden has angered climate-focused voters with a drilling project in Alaska. Without a decisive victory, Western support for Ukraine could weaken, and Kyiv could come under increasing pressure to enter serious peace talks. Mr. Lemon had been under scrutiny since an uproar over on-air remarks he made about women and aging in February. Governor Doug Burgum approved the state's prohibition on Monday, just a month after the state Supreme Court blocked an earlier ban. Hadley Gamble, a correspondent at CNBC, produced messages to investigators that documented instances of harassment by Jeff Shell, according to her lawyer. DeCarb brothers think the best way to combat climate change is to ditch the gloom of earlier environmentalism and focus on what new technology can do. Fani Willis, the prosecutor, said she would announce any indictments from her inquiry into Donald Trump and his allies between July 11 and September 1. The course had run into criticism from scholars, who accused the board of omitting key concepts and bending to political pressure from Governor Ron DeSantis. The move ends a 3-year power struggle between the Green Bay Packers and one of football's greatest passers. Why do female pop stars have to keep changing up their look? The regional bank received a $30 billion lifeline from big banks last month, but depositors and investors remain worried about its prospects. Miles Cosgrove, who was fired by the police department in Louisville after the fatal raid on Ms. Taylor's apartment, has a new job in northern Kentucky. Some officials said the explosions, which killed at least 15, were caused by an accident. But a rise in militant attacks has put the region on edge. Cases, hospitalizations, and deaths are lower than they've been in years. We asked experts how to think about what the future likely holds. An art show was supposed to unite masterpieces from London and Moscow. Now, Russia is cut off from the West, and each side's works are staying put. In ads posted around Brooklyn, Alex Miller put it all out there. A mother knew she'd missed the city, but a move brought her family closer together. Followed by the news from the media outlet Financial. Temporary pause comes after 10 days of hostilities in which more than 400 people have been killed. EU and Japanese diplomats say that Washington's proposal is simply not doable. Proposal for compulsory licensing risks ire of pharmaceutical groups keen to protect patents and revenue. Country's population set to grow for several decades, while the number of people in China declines. Ambassador to France stokes furor in Baltic nations by questioning their legal status. Allegations against Temo Wakanivalu raised concerns over health bodies' organizational culture. Tens of thousands of Sudanese refugees have already crossed into a country gripped by its own political crisis. Remote islands could become front line in possible future conflict over Taiwan. Washington wants to revive some Cold War-era practices to ease tensions with Beijing. Former guerrilla-turned-president Gustavo Petro struggles to deliver comprehensive settlement with armed groups. A scramble for workers might complicate the Federal Reserve's efforts to cool the economy. Streaming platform is betting that country's television shows will become global hits. Ministers faced criticism over failure to offer rescue plan to citizens caught up in the country's conflict. But revenues fall short of forecasts, indicating weaker economic performance. And Bed Bath & Beyond's bad buybacks. Also in this newsletter, Spain's strawberry farmers won't stop draining the swamp. Also in today's newsletter, allies resist U.S. plan to ban all G7 exports to Russia and Americans by government debt. The beating business heart of the UK capital has never been buzzier. We review the latest places to stay in and around the square mile. President hopes to set aside worries about his age and lackluster polling in pursuing re-election bid. A hop from the city is a smart new minimalist space in one of the capital's buzziest neighborhoods. After that, I will present the BBC News. A 72-hour ceasefire has come into effect after fighting that has left at least 400 dead. It is the latest move against Taiwan-linked individuals on mainland Chinese soil. Activists including Richard Branson say Tangaraju Sapaya was convicted on weak and controversial evidence. China's ambassador to Paris questioned the sovereignty of former Soviet Union countries. Wrestling Federation of India is under scrutiny after sexual harassment allegations against its chief. The firm's co-CEO said the money will be spent on making TV shows and movies in the Asian country. Last week, a different UN body said the milestone would be passed later in 2023. At least 17 people, mostly police, have been killed in a blast in the Swat Valley. Don Lemon drew criticism after saying U.S. politician Nikki Haley, 51, was not in her prime. Jury selection begins in a case where the ex-president is accused of attacking a woman in the 1990s. The latest violence comes as the UN says insecurity in the capital is at a level similar to war. A committee attempted to stop celebrities backing the current protests, leaked documents show. There's growing concern that the oceans are heating up quickly, and scientists are unsure of the implications. And finally, I will discuss the news from the Japan Times. COVID-19 tracker. Tokyo reports 1,909 new cases. Families and survivors mark 18 years since fatal JR West derailment. LDP aims to bolster ties with Japan's largest trade union. Japanese nonprofit head evacuated from Sudan hopes peace will return. Japan plans to expand scope of long-term foreign worker program. COVID-19 tracker. Tokyo logs 571 new cases. Living along a dead river in Bangladesh. Evacuees recount difficult days after risky escape from Sudan. Thailand's most polarizing family rises again before election. Heat waves in India drive leading clean energy state back to coal. UK urges China to explain the biggest peacetime military buildup. Australia to focus on threats further ashore in major defense overhaul. Cybersecurity nightmare in Japan is everyone else's problem, too. Japan to give Rapidus 260 billion yen subsidy for new Hokkaido plant. Netflix to invest $2.5 billion in South Korean content. Japan renews efforts to push shift from savings to investments. Japan maintains stance that economy is picking up. Low-cost airline kingpin prepares for life after AirAsia. That concludes today's international news highlights. I hope you have gained insights into the current events around the world and have sharpened your listening skills. Don't forget to subscribe to us for more updates on global news. See you tomorrow.